Chris Stuckmann, the very popular YouTuber, film critic, has achieved something, in my opinion, that's really exciting and cool. He wrote and directed this feature-length film produced by Mike Flanagan. Everyone on the internet seems to be discussing it and kind of talking about it in the way people talk about the first nuclear bomb tests, experiments of some strange and terrifying new. But it's like YouTubers have made movies before. YouTubers have made very good movies. Just very recently, the Philippou brothers did Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. It can be done. It's just such a weird time culturally where lots of traditional media are trying to break into like social media, make podcasts, like there's a lot of overlap. We're kind of reaching this point where between what distinguishes traditional filmmaking from YouTubers is very little. So I watched Shelby Oaks, Chris Stuckmann's film. I'm going to be talking about that. I'm also going to be talking about how everyone's been talking about this and some of the weirder reactions. But first, Nadia's not here today because this is a scary movie and she's a little scaredy cat. No shade. That's fine. I was impressed with how scary this movie actually was. First off, just to put this out there, I've watched quite a few reviews of this film, and a lot of the reviewers are like, I know Chris Stuckmann, we're pals, I went to a screening with him or whatever. I do not know Chris Stuckmann. I paid my own cash from my wallet to go watch this film. There are strange incentives for like film reviewers, especially on YouTube, anywhere on the internet, especially when it comes down to one of our own going mainstream or whatever that narrative is. If anything, I feel like there is a bias to skew negative, especially if you aren't like what is there necessarily to gain? I feel like it plays into a good narrative and you're going to get more engagement if you talk negatively about something. That's just how it is on the internet. When a bad movie comes out, it's much easier to review it because lots of people want to hear about it. All of this is to say, I don't have any incentive here except to be honest about what I thought about this film, and the conclusions I came to kind of surprised me. I went in expecting like, okay, this is a debut film. It was crowdfunded initially, and then Neon and Mike Flanagan pumped some more money into it. I was expecting something that'd be a lot less glossy, but that's also our preconceived notions about YouTubers making YouTube films. Maybe it's because like the first decade of YouTube, there were like Hollywood people jumping in being like, hey, Fred, we got to do Fred the movie. But I was hooked, as I started watching this movie. It starts out like a Netflix documentary about like with a lot of found footage about a situation that happened years ago about these YouTubers who went missing. And I was like, this is really engaging and interesting. I like how this is set up. It has a great pace. We're thrown into the story, some decent jump scares, and I was like, this is good. I like where this is going. And then it does like a really interesting formal shift. I'm not going to say this is spoilers necessarily. There is like at the 30-minute mark, right with the title, when the title sequence starts, there's a shift where it becomes like a traditional narrative film. Like it breaks out of the mockumentary style and becomes just a horror film. And I thought that was really interesting and it, like a very risky move. Bring us into like this very realistic feel and then go like gothic and big, dramatic lighting. That was a very risky move. And I think how you feel about that like formal structure is going to inform how you feel about this movie overall. I thought it worked very well. There was some clunky stuff going on, cliches. You'll hear lots of reviewers talk about that. A reliance on certain horror cliches that I don't necessarily love. But once this movie gets into that like Blumhouse, James Wan territory, it's really interesting what Chris Stuckmann does with the camera. Genuinely sequences in this movie where I was like squinting because I'm just like, okay, something's going to scare me right here. Great suspense. Like, here's what I'm going to praise the most about this film. And this might be more of a reaction to recent horror films. But this movie is a schlocky B movie. It's not like an A24 style horror film, whatever that means. But we kind of have this idea now about elevated horror and the very heavy-handed metaphors, etc. I'm not saying this movie is without subtext, but it's not beating you over the head with it. It is kind of very comfortable just being this schlocky, overcooked, dumb B movie horror film that I think a lot of people would just enjoy. It's kind of a crowd pleaser. It kind of wears its influences on its sleeve. Yeah, it could have been better. The dialogue between characters could have been better. You could tell that Stuckmann is not really that interested in like the character drama or dynamics, that a lot of it is mood and tension, what he can do with the camera, the sound, the music. I was really impressed considering how much this movie was made for. The stuff they pulled off in this, I was really surprised by. It would have been impressive to me. This movie would have been impressive to me if it was like produced by Blumhouse, made by some director that I've never heard of. After this movie was basically made or in post-production, Mike Flanagan and Neon came in and was like, we're going to put some more money into this because we think this here is interesting. I'm not even saying, oh, this is good for a YouTuber. Like, no, this is just a good horror film. It's kind of stupid. It reminds me of picking something up at Walmart, the value bin that's just like some horror movie that not everyone has seen. That's just like, damn, that's actually like intense. I never really felt like it was dragging. I was really entertained the whole time. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was better than Longlegs. I'm a Longlegs hater. No shade to Osgood Perkins. I really like the monkey, actually, but I did not like Longlegs at all. It's very skilled in what it's doing. It could be obnoxious, you know, if you're just like, oh, this again. I'll get into spoilers in a little bit, but first I just want to talk a bit more about Stuckmann, the filmmaker, versus Stuckmann, the reviewer. I know there was like a big drama or controversy. I never really watched Chris Stuckmann's reviews, but I know there was like a big controversy when he was working on this film, and he said a few years ago, like, I'm not going to be reviewing films that I don't like anymore. I'm just going to be talking about films that I do like, because I see now from the other side how hard it is to make a film, and I don't want to, you know, I understand that from one perspective. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially if he's trying to like network in the industry. But of course, people aren't going to like that because I do think that creates more boring reviews. But he has every right to do that. And I do think it seemed like it was coming from a personal perspective of like you don't know everything that goes on behind a film, of how it's made, the resources, how they were constrained. I do think that's a great way to inform your criticism, and it can add a lot of value when you do have negative criticism. Like, it's important to be aware that there are so many outside forces and things outside of the filmmaker's control that you can't just be like, the director sucks. Like, there are a lot of things going into what makes a movie bad, and it's not necessarily fair to just be like, well, the director is bad because this actor is bad. Maybe that actor was forced to be there by some producer. You know, maybe there was a scene that provided context here that was forced to be cut by someone. You know, it's such a chaotic process. I understand where he's coming from of not wanting to talk negatively about films. However, I don't love that we have a kind of culture, an online culture, where people feel like it's better to just not say anything than to just offer critique and offer your opinions about something, that it has to be like this drama. And that's what's so unfortunate, that reviewing a film can become drama content or can harm someone's path in the industry. But it does show you like the difference between online success or finding success in online spaces compared to traditional pathways through filmmaking or Hollywood, and finding connections that way. Like online, you want to be loud and big and get lots of people to come watch you, and there's drama, and it's like, it's all there. It's a huge circus. Whereas I feel like in the traditional Hollywood route, there's biding your time, waiting, finding, getting connections, but also it's merging, it's blending. It's just a different world. And I think that when people are like, oh, can this YouTuber make a film? Of course it's going to be bad. I've just seen a lot of dismissal of this film because it is made by a YouTuber. I don't see any value in that, especially. And it just comes off as snobbishness. The thing is, like, does Chris Stuckmann deserve to be able to make this film? I mean, what's the Unforgiven line? Deserves got nothing to do with it. Like, there really is no, like, does anyone deserve to be able to make a film? It's kind of like the difference between someone getting this notoriety on YouTube and building up this successful career doing film reviews, that now he has an audience that wants to support him and make this movie and will go out and watch this movie, compared to someone who came through the industry and had certain advantages or disadvantages. Who knows? Maybe they're a Nepo baby, maybe they know someone else in Hollywood. Like, you just don't know what advantages people have going for them. So it's like, who am I to judge, Chris Stuckmann being able to make this film? From all I've seen, it's like he seems like he's worked very hard at this. I think that it shows in the results that there's a lot of skill here. It's not like a Hollywood producer just sat him down and was like, hey, we're going to give you $100 million, go make a movie. Like, sure, he absolutely had advantages coming from, having his audience baked in and people who would crowdfund and do that sort of thing. But how is that different from someone having the ability to go convince people with a lot of money, producers or people who own these companies, and say, hey, give me this money? Like, it's all about money. It's all about getting the money to be able to make the art you want to make. So when you see how it's done, like in Hollywood, and how any film gets made, any small film gets made, that people are just trying to lean on anything they can. So I have a great deal of respect for what Chris Stuckmann was able to achieve with this. Like, there's this myth of meritocracy, I think, still, that because people don't really see how Hollywood works, that it's not like a meritocracy. It's not like the old studio days where it's like, well, you start as an assistant and then you become a cameraman and then you director of photography and then you're directing motion pictures. Like, it's not like that. So, and also YouTube, it also is not a meritocracy. There's a lot of luck and gambling and who knows what goes into success there. So the point I'm trying to make is that I wish that the way people talk about this film is just talking about it like it's any other film, that people aren't trying to hate on it just because it's from a YouTube critic, or people aren't trying to heap praise upon it simply because it's above a very low bar that people have in their heads. So spoilers real quick for the film. 3, 2, 1, spoilers for Shelby Oaks. I thought that the CGI dogs was kind of like, whatever. It has the classic horror issue and horror writing issue of just the character being the dumbest person in the universe, like, oh yeah, let me go investigate this prison, this haunted prison, all by myself. I wish that her argument or disagreement with her husband had been a lot bigger to kind of convince me that she'd run off and do something really reckless and stupid. Like, I get that her husband dismisses her and is like, you need help, but I wish that the writing was a little stronger, especially in those dialogue scenes, to be like, her marriage is breaking down now. She has literally no one to rely on. She's going to go fucking find her sister right now. Otherwise it's just like, why are you doing this? It's the middle of the night. Can't you wait till morning? It'll be a little brighter. But the sequences themselves, when she goes out to the prison, very suspenseful. And then in the forest investigating was great and fun. And I like how the forest and night scenes were lit. I liked when she's talking to the old lady in the house near the end. There's some, like, all the mold on the house. It was very Lynchian. That's the word. It was very Lynchian, like that set design. I liked what it was going for. And then it's like the cult thing. Like, yeah, whatever. That's fine. But it ties in with like the mirror, with the glass breaking. I liked how that tied in. And that final sequence of the lady, the sister trying to smother the baby, like, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's over the top, and it becomes so like schlocky horror tropes that I just was having a good time. Like, I wasn't taking it all too seriously. I wasn't thinking about my trauma or anything. Like, it just was a fun time, very entertaining. The story worked and came together, but really the thing that stuck with me the most was like that formal structure of starting out as like this documentary and then becoming, like it says, Mike Flanagan Presents, right when this guy shoots himself. I was like, hell yeah, this is something. This is interesting. This is energetic. This is someone had this idea and wanted to make this film like this for a long time, and it's really effective. So I don't know, guys, what do you think about Shelby Oaks? What do you think about this whole YouTubers making films? I'm really impressed. I'm impressed with what went on here. So let me know what you think, and we'll be back with another review later this week. Okay, bye-bye.